Greetings. This will be a longer session about things that affect, infect, and in fact are penetrating the humans for thousands of years. I have made an observation over the years of thousands of cases. Mind you, I'm not a doctor. This is for entertainment purposes only. What I do is just, what I urge you to do is intelligent observation of things that we have and belief structures and physical forms that'll take place in humans. So this topic today is parasites / nanobacteria in human, in part bioengineered bacteria, but I won't go so deep into the topic of what's bioengineered. That is a whole other topic that leads in a million different directions. If you want to go into that a little bit, check Project Camelot, Doc Braham. He had an interview with Cassidy, and he talks about how he found out that through a friend who was a doctor that had a microscope that there are bacteria that are like in cloth, and they like have fabric and have bacteria, and when you have that in your clothing, your sweat touches the bacteria, they're no longer inert, and they become alive, and then they go, attached to the skin, and he dissected that, took it apart, looked at it, and said, okay, this is bioengineered, this is by nature, this is a Frankenstein, this is a mutant. How is that half wool, half bacteria? And it works with, putting clothes on, sweating, and then you actually get the bacteria that can come through the skin and infiltrate. I will also tap a little bit on a topic that, imagine for those that think it's too much and I'm leaning too far, it's okay. It's follow me and try to find what makes sense here, what I'm trying to bring across. Now let's imagine that we go back to that the human race is a slave race, or was a slave race, and we're coming out of that, and we had a heavy extraterrestrial influences with the gods and the angels and the wars and the Bibles and the flood and the Noahs and the sons of God and those who had magical powers and those who came and went and everything that was described in miracles. So let's say we had contact with a higher form of ourselves that had access to technology that looked to us like magic, so we described it as magic. Again, I say there's no such thing as magic, there's only laws of life, and how to handle that, and the technicality and the technological aspect of knowing how to override a three-dimensional hologram. And if you come from a different system, to you this would be like a game. Like let's say you used to play Nintendo, now you're up to PlayStation 4, you will be at a different skill level, naturally. Of course, for somebody that has a lower skill level, that doesn't mean less light, it's just less developed and less trained, and it would look like magic. So we want to bring it to actual fact and to physical form. First off, what is a parasite? In simple terms, a parasite is a life form that cannot really generate its own life force and sustainability. We call it pathogen. It's an organism that needs a host. So it can thrive in that host, and whatever the host produces, the parasite requires to sustain its own life force. Yes, it's a controversial subject. Some people say we have to have a balance of good and bad bacteria. Within our digestive system, we have to have a certain amount of bacteria that help us digest food. That is correct. That is like, too many cows kill the grass, if you want to put it this way. So there's still lots of unknowns in that. What is a parasite? So how to treat that, and what forms of parasite come, how you are being diagnosed by symptoms and not by the cause, because sometimes your doctor or whoever you're consulting does not look for what I'm going to display. So excuse me, I have to look down because it's like I have to structure that what I'm trying to bring across. So we know that it needs a host. I relate to that the Anunnakians that came. If you don't understand, read the Zechariah Sitchin, the 12th planet, or the Sumerian tablets that are like 6,700 years old, roughly translate in the creation of a human species that's part God, part human, but the God part was put dormant so it can work as a slave race and they can mine gold. Where do you think all of these systems come from? King, queens, royal blood, priest, king, tax, all of these old governmental structures that even in Germany they say draconian, they call it draconian system, has to do with the infiltration of a higher life form that came in, needed to mine gold for their planet. The history and their story goes deep why they needed gold. If you watch the movie Aliens, Cowboys and Aliens, it's the same as saying Cowboys and Indians. It's just funny. It's a science fiction, but interestingly, they are reptoid beings that mine gold, and they need the humans to control them. So we're telling the story to ourselves over and over and over again. If one might want to believe it's science fiction, but you have to understand it's a documentation of our past that we lost because we're a little bit in amnesia. So what the Anunnakians had to do is they put limiters in us. Limiters as in bacteria that would limit you. A simple example is, let's say, BE, which sits it sits in your brain stem, or like between the brain stem and the corpus callosum, and it lays dormant. BE, also known as Epstein-Barr, can also falsely be diagnosed as Lyme disease. And you think you're shooting at Lyme, but that's a cloak, the actual virus that's sitting in your system, waiting to go through the blood-nerve barrier. And when that happens, what do you have? Meningitis. That's already a close call. If they go through the next membrane, which is the nerve water in your spine, where's the main prana, the main energy flows for that bacteria, what happens? Your brain basically melts. You'll go either retarded or you die. I had meningitis. I've survived meningitis. I can tell you a tale about how that works and how I had to develop the mental faculties to beat that beast, and how I falsely was diagnosed with Lyme disease through a tick bite, which was actually BE, which was in my system for a very, very long time, maybe 35, 37 years before I detected that it was BE through muscle testing. Also, understand that let's assume, okay, let's play with that this is not designed by nature. Life accumulates life and is life enhancing. Let's assume, I'm leading here, but this is how I feel. These viruses or nanobacteria are bioengineered. Because in observation and for years studying Dr. Bruce Lipton and other doctors, what they have found is if you chase the nanobacteria, it tends to change its pattern. Like they know how to cloak, they know how to strategize, they know how to mess with you, such as Candida also, Maybe in a lot of cases we don't even know that a patient that is schizophrenic and hears voices is actually the parasite that's talking to you. The cross chatter that's in your brain, that's actually the parasite running your brain. What we also have found out through observation is that these parasites hide in form of nanobacteria. We know that the doctor on a regular does not check for nanobacteria. There are four, let's say 5 major groups of bacteria that one can look for without creating a scare or fear program. This is about physical fact. I always explain to a friend of mine, like if your tire is flat, you can't use your vehicle to run the highway of ascension. So if you realize actually that your tire is flat, find a spare tire, exchange that, make your vehicle safe so you can actually drive the highway of ascension. This is coming down to basics. There is what we call mysticism and magic involved, but there's something that can be found. So here is the groups. You have threadworm, that is not the one in your digestive system, that's the one in the blood. Here's the thing, if you do digestive cleansing, that works for your digestive tract but does not work for your blood. If you want to go to your blood and cleanse your blood, check Hulda Clark blood zapper. That is a zapper that basically zaps the parasites in your blood, and it's that sensitive that some people do more than 20 minutes a day, really get upset or vomit or have diarrhea. But that means your body is actually responding to the debris that needs to be dissolved and get out of your system. These parasites can work with your lymphatic system. They can attach and cloak themselves, and you won't even detect them. So one thing is, if you have the opportunity and the financial flexibility, and you think there's something wrong with you, and that has to do with your mood swings, with your appetite, your cravings, when you think you need certain things that you need to eat, you don't really need to eat them, because that's the parasite triggering you to be in a certain state, whether it's alkaline or acidic. Be careful, do not fall for the alkaline myth. Candida needs a very alkaline environment to thrive. You need to have acidic fluids in your stomach and the alkalinity in your cell structure balanced. So you mean eating acidic and alkaline, there needs to be a balance in order for you to work. Your body knows how to create its own homeostasis, meaning it finds its own balance. If we go to extremes, an alkaline diet can dry you out, cell structures get dry, your hair goes brittle, your skin goes dry. Understand, when hard water comes out the shower and you come out the shower, especially in America, with the fluoride and all that stuff that's in there, and you look at your skin, it has cracks. What is hard water? It is alkaline. Make no mistake, when you have a little bit of acidic water sprayed on your skin, do the test for yourself. Don't believe me, look at the skin, use the shower water, look at the skin. This will be dry and cracked like the desert, and this will be nice and moist without even of the lotion. It has to do with the acidity in your skin. Your skin needs acidic fluids in order to keep that flexibility and that moistness going. Your hair, you want your hair healthy and shiny, well, use a little bit of, like vinegar, like the acidic type, spray it, and then watch your hair. Same plants. Do not spray plants with alkaline water. They dry, they wither. You have to use acid water or acidic water to spray your plants to make that nice. So find your balance. I say everything in moderation. Not too much alkaline, not too much acidic. Some people are very sensitive to either or. Also, when you have heartburn, that doesn't mean you need to take anti-acid. That is a wrong belief, that conclusion that makes no sense. You have heartburn because you have insufficient acidic fluids in your stomach, and your body produces, and check many doctors on that to clarify that myth. Your stomach gets upset, the gallbladder produces acidic fluid, the upset comes up here, and you have that bitter taste. That's acidic fluids that your body's trying to bring out of your system to compensate the insufficiency or the deficiency of acidic fluids. And then we have medication, and just use your mind for yourself, use your own intelligence that says anti-acid when you have heartburn, that says you have an acid deficiency, and you take anti-acid and put the two and two together. How does heartburn end? Sip on some soda, which is acidic. Sip on some ginger ale, like some soda pop, just for that purpose. Not do soda every day and all that. That's all you do, no extreme. Why is it that when kids have an upset stomach, and in the morning, or that's what my mom did with me, ginger ale, tea didn't work, water didn't work, everything else that I tried came back out. And when I used ginger ale in small sips, my stomach calmed down. Why? Because I gave it enough acidic fluids to beat the bacteria. The problem, why we have stomach problems, is the elimination of bacteria and unwanted parasites and free radicals in the system are destroyed or being burned by the acidic fluids that we have in our stomach. They are so acidic that if they would be outside of your stomach and you line them up, they burn like fuel. If you would drink them, it'll burn holes in your esophagus. Acidic fluids. What is an acidic fluid? Drano. Drano is an acidic fluid that'll kill you if you drink it. See, so your stomach kind of has somewhat that's similar to Drano, but it is contained in that area where it is needed. So if you put peroxide or peroxides in an acidic environment, you do your own Google math, watch what happens. Is that good for your stomach? Is that necessary? Or does your stomach need a balanced acidic support to defeat bacteria and viruses? That's just for your mind. You Google that. I want you to do your homework and investigate for yourself, because right now it's about knowledge. You're no longer sitting there and listening to an expert that claims he has the knowledge and knows. And I would not call myself an expert. I would call myself a specialist, because I observe and I watch patterns. And I say if a guy like Dr. Bruce Lipton has over 2,000 cases where people with linseed oil treatment could avoid chemotherapy, then we have to look at why is that a different angle here and how is it that it works. So if it works for a few people, we should give ourselves the chance to investigate and find other alternatives to things that work, instead of going to the doctor for 20 years. Like I've watched my mom getting the same stuff for her nerves and it never heals. It's always the same problem, and the problem always comes back, and the medication is for temporary relief. We know we want to fight the pain, but we are about here to go for the cause and study ourselves and learn for ourselves what is it that we have to really, really investigate. So let me check further. What nanobacteria also can do is, like Epstein-Barr or BE, not only can it sit in your brain, it can limit you. Let's say if you have a higher brain capacity or a higher focus or focus level that you want to reach, and you're in an environment that is, putting the stress on you. Well, the stress releases cortisol in you, which is like adrenaline, which gets stored as cortisol in your muscle groups. What happens is the virus can detect that. That means while you're in stress, that automatically means in your thought pattern you have to defend yourself against what's being thrown at you. So when your levels drop, BE awakens and attacks you. And let's say you've been in your office and working, and busting your behind, and all of a sudden, total breakdown. Your eyes, are running. That's already a detox level. Your nose is running. Your body is trying to defeat the virus that's going for the core. It's going for your brain. It's trying to actually eat at your brain. And you have problems concentrating. You got migraines out of nowhere that you can never explain. That is your brain trying to defend itself. Also has to do with your thought patterns and how knotted your thought patterns are. Also know that nanobacteria is slick. Nanobacteria can go for your central nervous system. They can operate and work with your central nervous system. When people say somebody has a demon, or they are possessed, or they see demons, or they see shadows in their room, that has to do with the infestation of your mind that has gone viral, because the nanobacteria already is operating on a central nervous system level. Science has yet to look into that, how they do it. These nanobacteria are collective that is smart. So it's not always when we say it has to do with your draconian or your reptilian. We all have a reptilian stem brain. Don't forget that. This suit was designed to survive on Earth. So everybody that is of angelic descent has that in them, and by negative choice, you can say, can operate from that survival, which was needed in the past and no longer is required. You're not in a jungle. You're not running from a tiger that's trying to eat you. That is based on cell memory. So understand that we have these families of these bacteria. Look what they do, and Candida does the same thing, and we still have to investigate further and find more articles about that. It maps your central nervous system. It basically looks at your belief system, and your belief system sits in your core. Whether you believe in the Bible or not, you're under the influence, because the church has influenced the world for thousands of years. So if somebody utters certain metaphors, you know revelations, you know holy beings, you know the story of Moses. It's all embedded in you because you've been under the influence. When you grew up in school, whether it's Catholic or Christian, whatever that is, so these belief systems sit in you like a basic computer program. Okay? So what the virus does, it knows how to play with these images. So if one day you're sitting in your room and you see a shadow, or you hear a voice talking to you, that's not so magical. That is a trick that the nanobacteria is using to get you into a state of fear, because if you're in a state of fear, your energy levels drop, and the nanobacteria can thrive in your system. You hear voices that have, like derogatory language, curse at you, telling you to kill yourself, trying to break down your self-esteem. That is, make no mistake, no etherical entity that's attached to you, or some dark force that hovers about. That is very much something of a collective that in physical form is anchored in your body, and you need to defeat it. It's not about pray and you praying, and when I say kumbaya, no offense, I mean if you have theoretical tactics of praying for the Lord to help you, not knowing what is within you, that doesn't help. That means I can sit all day in front of my car, in front of the flat tire, and pray that the tire will self-inflate. Well, guess what? It will not happen. Nothing will communicate you of the kind, and then you will say God doesn't communicate with you. Old paradigm, old program, let that go. Now your prayer, and if you want to check Greg Braden on that, I think the lost modality of prayer, that means you have to know what it means to be healed. You have to embody the knowledge of what that means to be in a healthy body, in a healthy form. So let me come to the nanobacteria. First of all, how to detect them, and what are they called. So what you can do with certain doctors, you have to investigate. Again, check Doc Graham on Project Camelot talks about Project Camelot talks about that. Is you need a doctor that has a dark field microscope, and they have to check your feces. You have to send it in, and they have to check the data. Blood work also, and then they have to know what to look for, and many of you I know are not asking for that, so I'm giving you a few names and do your own investigation. The first one is the threadworm. We call threadworm the bacteria of denial. It's in your bloodstream, it's very hidden, and you have to really be a specialist to find that. Threadworm, or a worm of denial, is you have weight problems. You got a belly, you can't lose weight. Somehow your body has that weight. Well, the body has weight and adds fat and water to the cells in order to defend itself from either environment and or the individual inner bacteria. So, and even diets won't work. And that's a whole other issue, the diet myth. If you change your eating habits and then you go back to your eating habits, you look at people, famous people, I won't name names here, they blow up, lose weight, blow up, lose weight, and it's always, they don't stay in a weight because they don't eat cyclical. I did a video on that if you want to check that, Eating Right for Life. That kills any diet. And why diet? Why not live it? Watch the psychology that's being used when we do these things and spend millions of dollars to look healthy, because somebody says, well, if you go to this extreme, well, this will force your body. Well, forced things will not last by nature. Okay, so we had the threadworm. It also works with your central nervous system, means that it keeps your brain state locked in a certain brain wave. When that happens, hormones flood your body, and it's like relaxing. So you have addictions such as could be eating a lot of beans, eating a lot of meat, eating a lot of cheese, because the threadworm needs that. Your body does not require that intake of these foods. Also study blood types in you. What blood type requires what food, and then learn to feel through the layers of your body. This actually created a sensor perception of how does it affect you, how does that come across eating this or that. When is it that I feel heavy? Eat a salad around 12, feel that. Eat some heavy food around 12, feel that. Get into what are you doing to your body, and how good is that, and how is it that I want to actually slow down or really stop the aging process and look good and not be in extremes. So the next one is amoeba. Amoeba is a nanobacteria that works with your central nervous systems on the level of you being bipolar. You hearing voices, because amoeba knows how to trigger your the cortex, the audio cortex. And for hallucinations, it knows how to trigger the visual cortex, but that has to do with the level of bacteria within your system. How high is the level? What's the scale of like I say 1 to 12? Where is that virus in your system? You can also have somebody do muscle testing with you, meaning they will write down the name of the bacteria, ask your body, and then pull on your arm or pull on your balance. And if your body has a very strong response or weak response, depending on how you layer your questions, then you know you carry a certain virus. There are systems out there for kinesiology that measure your pressure, the pressure, like how many kilograms of pressure do you have in your hand. That also determines the strength of your core, So your metabolism and muscle power. So I can ask a question and I can mumble, do you have threadworm? And when your body has a weak response, I know you don't have it. And in order to do that, there's one thing I think it's called TrueTester.com, TrueTester, True Tester. I think it's $60. You should have that. What you can do with this is you can ask yourself and use it. And what you do is by finding out when the body is smarter than your mind. Like, don't think that you know things, because you do not know. Your body knows. So I can ask your body, give me a yes in the present moment, and I squeeze it, and it says, let's say 42 kilograms. And then I can say, give me a no in the present moment, and my response is pretty weak, and I have 15 kilograms. So I know yes is strong, no is weak. Okay? So now I'm asking the body, do you have threadworm or amoeba? So let's say with threadworm I have 24 kilograms, and with amoeba I have 37 kilograms. Well, then I know the body has a very strong response to it has amoeba. Then you go through the list of the viruses as in nanobacteria, find out which is the strongest, and they try to be tricky. So you can't give the person that you're asking words. They're not supposed to know. You can do self-testing, but you gotta be very neutral with yourself, finding out what that is. And once you know how that works, interestingly, you can look at people and be like, okay, you have threadworm. Like, you will know the symptoms. So I'm going through the bacteria quick. So we have the threadworm, the worm of the Nile. We have amoeba, which is the bipolar and almost nearly schizophrenic modalities that it hits you with. Then number 4, okay, let's say amoeba is the moody one. Threadworm is the denial one. Now here comes trichinosis. Trichinosis, as in trichinosis, is the trickster. It'll fool you into you need to do certain things in life or make changes, and when you do it, it is a disaster. It doesn't work. And you don't understand, and you think there's something wrong with you or wrong with your mind, not knowing actually you're being triggered by trichinosis. This is a completely new topic, and for some people it sounds way out there, but trust you me, if you go through analyzing yourself and have a doctor checking your blood work and checking for the for these bacteria, and you find them, then you'll come back and you post and you'll agree with what we have found. And I found many that found the stuff actually, and they got it out. So there's a way to heal, and they save a lot of money. So we have trichinosis, the trickster, that makes you very thin. It feeds on your body fat. It burns your nerve cells, and you're pretty much on edge all the time. Meaning, like, you're forced to be actually reptilian. Everything is fight or flight for you. Everything is an attack. Everything is suspicious. You can trust nobody. It almost creates a latent paranoia in you. And maybe at some point I will write a book about this, that people can lean on this. Nanobacteria also feed on calcium. People that have calcification in their arteries, and people that are over 50 and you have your heart checked or you get your heart checked, really understand that the heart problem is a disease caused by nanobacteria in your bloodstream. That has been proven. I forgot the name of the doctor, but the book is called The Calcium Bomb. I ordered it just for other people to give them advice to how to handle that, certain diets, things you need to cut down in life, or what we all should cut down is white sugar and fat is the main motor for nanobacteria to mess with you. And the body has a self-help and self-cleansing mechanism, but when it can't compensate, as things go drastic, you have excruciating pain popping up here or there because it's done compensating, and it gives you an alarm system. And it doesn't help you to put to unscrew the bulb that blinks for the alarm system while your system is on alert. You need to go to the cause and find out, why is that bulb blinking? Why is my alarm system going off and telling me I need to check my body? Okay, so we had trichinosis, now we have protozoa. It's hard to describe what it does. It's in your system. It can have you tired, not motivated. It can have you depressed. It's tough to detect. It's tricky. It can move. It can cloak itself. Understand, nanobacteria sits where the immune system doesn't look or is not alert. Like, they can change their look, and you can say the police within your body will not see the perpetrator because the perpetrator is cloaked. Then the one that I told you about, BE or Epstein-Barr, a lot of times falsely diagnosed as Lyme disease. Look into that. So I'm going to break down again. We have threadworm, we have amoeba, we have trichinosis, we have protozoa, and we have BE, better known as Epstein-Barr. All of these you can find and read about. And they have active and reactive patterns. Even when you know you're going for them, they'll attack you. There is a method to get them out of your system, which is like $9 plus shipping. Come to me. No. Unfortunately, I am not the one that has that. What helps you, there's a store that I find very helpful that was created by a lady that was into herbs named Hannah, and it's called Hannah's Herb Shop. .com, hannahsherbshop.com, one word. And what you need is a vibropathic. And if you don't know what a vibropathic is, I give you a quick explanation. A vibropathic, some say it's placebo, but it's half and half. Carries an energy signature to alert your immune system to look for a certain bacteria or virus. So let's say the base level, let's say you have threadworm, or you found out that you have threadworm through muscle testing or your doctors or feces being tested. You get a vibropathic that is called threadworm 6X. Same thing as for amoeba 6X, or trichinosis 6X, protozoa 6X, or BE 6X. This is the potency of the vibropathic, which is a liquid, which is harmless to the body. All it carries is the informational data to alert your immune system that it needs to check for that. And then you start with 5 drops a day, 2 times a day, and you realize, the first 3 days, you have diarrhea, or your body, you have the temperature changes, you're beginning to sweat, you're beginning the detox. That means you have detected it. So basically, what a vibropathic does, it is basically a sign that you're holding up to your body saying, hey, listen, system, you have threadworm, you have amoeba, you have trichinosis, protozoa, or BE. And I'm not suggesting that you have. Some people don't have anything. But it doesn't hurt to look. It doesn't hurt to get yourself tested. And if you don't trust your own evaluation, have somebody else write down on a piece of paper, hidden for your eyes so your mind doesn't know. And you'll be amazed how that works. Muscle test you by holding it to your heart and see the response. But you have to know the baseline, or find somebody who is a professional in muscle testing. You have to know how the body responds with the yes in the given moment, in the present moment, and a no in the present moment. That has to be clear. From that, you can evaluate or determine what somebody has. I sometimes, when I do readings, I can do that from afar. When I look at the person and I'm trying to tap in, and I use the muscle tester myself, and it's an experiment. So far, it's like I had like 97% right, where and depending on your openness, that I say, well, go to that store, get that vibropathic, and then tell me how your response is. And people came back and said, like, yeah, I'm responding. Like my digestive is all of a sudden bubbly. This and this is changing, and I'll give you little health tips of what to do, because I know my video is unusual because nobody really breaks down these topics and gets into this, because this is a completely new thing we have to really find out. You have to know the active and reactive patterns of these bacteria in your system in order to detect them, and how you beat them is freeing yourself from something that is within. It has nothing to do with the government or your taxes, or you're not making money, or you're not being in abundance. It has to do with the abundance within your system, within your body, within the physical form. Magic can take place, but the magic of you enjoying the highway of ascension is your vehicle needs to be okay. You need to be okay in physical form in order to understand more. Thoughts get clearer when you go for that. Some people recommend, if you have too much cross chatter, to use GABA. Use that, but don't be dependent on that. Still find out where's that cross chatter coming from, and try to copy paste that moment of hyper neurological activity, shut down the neurological activity, bring the focal mind in, and bring your mind into where actually you are, and learn how to hold it so you're not dependent on natural herbs and pills to help you there. But even though I say the vibropathic doesn't make you dependent, it is, like I said, 50-50. It's psychological and it is physical. You could also train yourself by writing on a piece of paper. You can say BE6X, 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 and you do that every day. You do that for 21 days. Well, the level of BE in your system will drop because you're alerting your system. You're training yourself, and again, discipline is needed. And wakefulness and alertness, not running on autopilot, on routine behavior, because that's where the virus operates. Like, let's say you're the landlord, your body, as in God's temple, which is, you embody that temple. You're the landlord of your building. But if you have apartments within you that you're not checking, meaning you're unconscious, or you're on autopilot, or you pass by the door, well, you have squatters sitting in there that run your electric bill, that run your cable, that run your wire, and they'll cost you energetically. They'll cost the charges that you need actually to run this here to be in actually your avatar state. So everything unchecked will use you like a parasite. Will sit in your system and deplete you. But a wakeful landlord checks the apartment all the way down to the basement and makes sure that everything, the pipes and the electricity and everything that is within you, you are a community, So is the liver okay? Are my kidneys okay? How's the gallbladder, urine bladder, the lungs, my heart, my arteries, my well-being, my feeling? How do I walk? Do I walk like this? What is during the day? Am I like this and I'm up and I'm healthy and I'm well? Or I slouch because I'm losing energy? Question, why am I losing energy? What am I eating? Really monitor yourself in your environment, where you are, so you can understand more of what that is that makes you I have other valuable tips to help you understand. You have, I think, 206 bones in your system. They need to be aligned, otherwise you're losing energy. And who needs, or what needs the most energy in your system? The brain. And the brain can produce anything to heal and repair you once you treat your body in balance. Okay, for those that have neck problems, that can move their neck only halfway, or you reach an edge where there's like the stinging pain, you can't go further, or your peripherals stop here when they're supposed to be ending like here, have your atlas bone checked. Google atlas prophylax, and who's an expert on that, based on a method by Renee Schimperli, which is a Swiss chiropractor practitioner. And make sure you stay within a specialist, not people that just dabble with your head, don't know what they're doing. It has to be a licensed atlas prophylax guy, okay? Get that corrected. That means your prana is not flowing right. Your posture is probably like this or like this. You don't stand up upright, or, pardon, one leg is too short. You have to adjust that because your vertebrae in your backbones are misaligned because of your atlas bone being misaligned. That comes from birth. That has to do with how you be pulled out, how you were pulled out of your mom's womb, basically, when they touch your head. They found out in Peru there's an ancient or antique tribe that when the children are born, they massage the heads back into the correct position after birth. Well, in Western civilization, we do not do that. So every second person has an atlas bone problem that needs to be corrected, affecting your nervous system, digestive, lung, heart, liver, kidney, knee, testicles, fallopian tubes. It'll go through everything because it needs to run on 100% of your capacity, okay? Also have your sacral bone checked. That means if you've been stressed by BE for a very, very long time, you have your brain as a membrane, okay? You have a bone here, you can say like a little river that runs through these, like, it goes like a little squiggly line. Well, science has found out that your brain does this. You're an oscillator, you're vibrating, okay? So if your bone structure is misaligned, you know, pain will come in here, and you have problems with your sacral bone. So get your sacral bone aligned. There's massage therapy, find a professional and specialist also that heals traumas from the past that you put into a bubble in your system from your childhood that you didn't want to process, all linked to each other. Get that clear. If you feel, it's all about the resonance that you need to solve that. That has to do with your back pain. Your back should be functional. If you have this the S curve in your back, that has to do with your malfunctional sacral and atlas bone. Get that corrected. Chest pain, all triggered through the atlas bone. You know, make sure you get that clear. And I love it. I'm in the flow like this. It's really, really coming good to me. Okay. Then you have to understand the single cell parasite is in the blood, and they can camouflage and shift. You got to be slick what to look for and how to look for it. Well, I give you a few tips of what and how to do it. The multi-celled parasite is the more tangible form. They're more in your digestive system. Then you have to also check Hulda Clark and other experts on how to clean your digestive system. Probiotics by themselves will help you to a certain degree, but if you have to get into the jungle of your digestive system, flushing it out is not the ultimate help. We found out that the best thing you can get is a psyllium husk. Do that for 30 days. Do that once a year to make sure your tract is clear, because doctors have found out that you can carry up to 5 pounds in your system for years that you do not clean out because it sits in your pockets of your digestive tract that has these little, see, like in my hand, these pockets here. When you don't extend those, that's where it calcifies. You know, you have calcium deposits, which is what nanobacteria need to breed. So watch the calcium intake. You know, you have enough calcium in your system. All of this calcium in the milk and bombarding your system with calcium, it's not necessarily healthy. Watch these levels also. There's another thing that you can get into, is called colonics. That was created by a Russian scientist with all the herbs combined with psyllium husk and a tea to do, I think, a 28-day diet, as in not eating, but adding that to your eating and eating right. Because fasting could be detrimental if you have a nanobacterial infection, and almost everyone has it from the ancient times. That, like I said, no one is innocent. We're all born in sin. We're all born under a certain influence, and once we can detect that, then we can step into the real magic, okay? The real laws of life and unfolding into getting clearer, like mind, thoughts. Like once I started healing my BE and Epstein-Barr, I got much clearer. I realized it was working with me being triggered in my emotional body when I realized doing the human design. Like study many designs, astrology, do Ayurvedic, do Chinese, do Mayan, and find the patterns that match for you in order to fix you. Makes a lot of sense, and combine and mix it up. Expand your consciousness, and it's you don't even have to be a rocket scientist to help yourself. So I found out certain triggers were working with a certain condition that I had coming from that nanobacterial influence. And when I started detecting it, it was sending me images and trying to really rebel against me, and nightmares. And when I trimmed it down, then these nightmares started fading. My migraines, couldn't come anymore. I think I had one last attack, I think a month ago, when I thought I was literally going insane. I was in so much pain. All my thoughts, I saw this knot inside of myself, and I knew it was the last attempt of the nanobacteria trying to get to me while I'm beating it. And as I am eating right and eating light and keeping it light and balanced, it has less of a chance to come in. So any thought that comes in that's negative, it doesn't come from love, has suspicion, paranoia, doubt, hate, anything you want to utter, it's not your thought. It is a system that's a negative system based on a negative collective that is trying to run you. You have to, or you can develop the opportunity to not identify with that, because this is not you. This no longer represents you. You are a human being. You're a divine of nature, and your thoughts should be divine. You should be at peace, and everything that you do in your life is at peace, and you resonate and expand yourself in a peaceful form. So own your thoughts. These nanobacteria also work with thoughts, and these are not myth. When somebody says, well, let me pull a sword out and recite a certain DNA activation code, that doesn't get rid of the parasite that's sitting in your system, because you're not aiming at it. That's meaning, let's say there's something in your car is wrong. Let's say something in the engine and the fuel pump doesn't work properly, and then they go and wave a wand around your radiator and go on like, oh, let me wave that wand here and talk to your fan and make the airflow in your car better. Well, that doesn't solve the problem that your fuel pump is leaking. And that's the same thing in your body. There are physical forms we have to pay attention to get out of the fairy tale land, to understand there are physical things in the body that need to be checked in order for you to be in full magi form. And that's what this is about. So also, okay, colonics, that's for your digestive system. The blood zapper by Hulda Clark, that's for your blood. All of this is invest in yourself. Like, I don't make any money, but this is, I'm just sharing my observation and hoping that what you find and what you hear makes sense with you as you find patterns in people that have the same thing. And the more you heal yourself, and the more you get into healing yourself and finding out how this is being done, guess what? You turn into a healer, and you can help the next one. So if you learn what I have learned, and you know how to detect it, and you know how to work with that, you know how to talk to it, and you see how it runs the system, you will see that in any other person, and then you can assist them and help them with your expertise for them to find their healing modality, which is the new paradigm. We have to shift our belief system and shift away from the so-called expert that doesn't look for the flat tire, that doesn't look for the fuel pump that's leaking, and investigate for yourself. You have a few tips that you got and tricks and how to go for it. And if you find stuff, then you know if you have a high percentage of hitting the nail in the head, then you know, okay, we have something here that is, again, bring it back to it's tangible, it's not metaphysical, it's very physical. And before you go into lucid dream state, into the metaphysical realms, your ground station needs to be 360 degrees intact, agreeable. And okay, so we have mentioned the blood zapper, then the vibropathics at hannahsherbshop.com, potency times 6 for whatever you find in your system. We have organic and inorganic parasites. The ones that are ethereal, basically, they'll work with the collective within you. So whatever is, basically, if a healer or a Reiki healer works with your ether body, that's all fine and dandy. They can erase the story in the ether body, and the ether program of a parasite in your energetic body is gone. But if you carry the collective, guess what? That program will come right back after the healing, ease back in a different way so you can detect it and still run ruckus with you. You have 3 bodies. You have a light body, you have an electric body, and you have a magnetic body. Mind, body, and soul, they call it, or a triple Merkabah complex system. So these 3 bodies need to all blend like one mesh so you become one. That's why we're talking about 22 chakras, which I will talk about in my next video in the Gammatron teachings, which is the father energy to the Metatron energy, which is the corrective energy of the misuse of what the Metatronic energy that was used to bring all circuitry within your system back online. Meaning you have 7 chakras for each energy body, 7 light chakras, 7 magnetic chakras, and 7 electric chakras. And if they blend and they run the right color, your system is up and running, and you're really going into places where it's amazing what you find within yourself and what you can create and bring to the planet in service to the planet once you align and really functioning. Okay, let's see what else we have here. The inorganic parasite comes in as in form of a thought form. Somebody can infect you by, let's say, somebody has an insecurity, and they would say to you, "Oh, you're such a little boy," or "You're such a little prince." They're talking about themselves, and they're talking to themselves, and they're seeking validation in that they're right because they're projecting their issue away from them. So here's the thing: if you carry insecurities or resonant fields within you, and you believe you're that boy, or you're that prince, or you're that girl, or that princess, then you resonate with that. That means the thought pattern is beginning to infect you. It's beginning to have an effect on you, and actually begins to perturb you. And it begins even to upset you, that you would say, why would that person say to me that I'm such a boy? Why would that person say I'm such a princess? Why are you telling me who I am without me asking you? That is a viral activity of a spiritual vampire that needs attention and energy by projecting out their weakness, getting you into response. So don't be susceptible to negative suggestions to you. You should have people affirming, life-affirming, positive metaphors coming to you, making you shine. That is how we should communicate. So we have to watch our communication and watch our words and watch what we project, because it's like interdimensional witchcraft. And we don't even know that we are doing it. And we have to learn to adjust ourselves and not to say that to somebody to just point away from the problem that we actually have. So we have to learn to reflect, understand a vampire in a movie, as in a metaphor, has no reflection in the mirror. Why is that? Because they can't see themselves. They have no self-reflection. They're cursed to live forever for a deal they made. And it's always, the dark side always makes deals. They always want a deal. But when light comes in and when heaven comes to earth, there's no negotiation and there's no deal making. There's actually real facts, realigning and restructuring who you are and becoming clear. Okay, let's see what else we have. Detect how thought form is structured energetically. How does a thought form operate? Somebody utters something negative to you, it has an effect on you, you're going home, you're bubbling up, you're having anxiety. Well, the thought form is infecting your entire belief. It's challenging basically your belief system. And your belief system has to be clear and not elusive in order to defend yourself. And what you do is with that thought, you erase that thought. Because it is non-essential to your existence. Nobody needs to diss you or disrespect you or come condescending at you if they can't feel you. And if you're not being felt in the moment, and it's hard for us, we can say, well, I feel that right now you're not really feeling me. You're not sensing me. You don't know where I'm at. I don't like where this is going. You're free and you can allow yourself to go there. And if somebody wants to walk away from you, well, they're not able to process that what you are basically letting them know how you feel, and not, creating war or any violent behavior. At peace, we should be at peace. Things should be at peace. I always say like that, I am like a temple and I have artifacts. And when I let you into my temple, it has to do with trust. And if you go into the highest spheres of where these artifacts are, like my diamonds are, metaphorically speaking, and you behave like an elephant in a porcelain store, and you drop my stuff, then I'm forced to kick you out. Then I have to tell you, I no longer want you here because you can't not respect the sensitive me. And in order for me to have my peace, I need to, move that individual out of the temple structure and have my own peace. Okay, let's see. Your cells, the membrane of the cell. How does a cell operate? Google that, study that. And from nucleus to membrane, how do they communicate? How does a virus mimic that's a cell that requires entrance? Developing keys to enter your cell, same thing with thought patterns. I develop a speech that will cater to your ego so you would open up. When you do that, I'm in your membrane. Then I install the negative programming, and once that runs you, you're infected. And everything that comes from that actually is negative. It's like I'm installing the red in you, and the entire system runs red. Well, you're supposed to be blue. Blue energy form. Peace. Relaxed. So monitor your thoughts. Own your thoughts. Be strategic in how you know yourself. And be smart. And outwit thought patterns that think they can mess with you. That's training your brain, and that actually makes you smarter, and that actually increases your EQ. You can do that with computer games, which actually are not bad. They force you to be here. You don't go into extremes, but games that force you to be in the present where you have to react, like driving a car. You have to be here. You can't be in dream state, otherwise you end up in an accident. Do something that forces an activity for you to be in the now and do the work. That builds you, builds your mind, builds your discipline, turns you into a Jedi naturally. You don't need no school or guru for that or to follow that. Another thing, get different alternatives to things that are being suggested to you. Look at, I look at 5 different things and then evaluate. Okay, well, if 3 people out of 5 telling me this way, if I have the question I'm asking, if I'm not following my inner direction, which I already have, then I might go that way. Check Candida, how to beat Candida. Candida side effect, bipolar, schizophrenia. So people have been being treated because they hear voices or they see demons. I wonder if anybody that is schizophrenic is being checked on parasites in the blood or Candida. If anybody, if it's even 1%, question. You investigate for yourself. People that have mental problems should check for nanobacteria activity. Maybe very high activity in the blood, and they're not running themselves because the virus is running you. So your mood swings, your instability, that's according to Amoeba Liba. And take note, understand also parasites trigger cravings. So if you have crazy sugar cravings, you might have candida or a threadworm. Cravings for heavy food and cheese and all that. Macaroni cheese, the worst. It's like next to system shutdown. Eating late at night, eating heavy food at night, disastrous. Gives the virus a party to celebrate. Or make sure that your mouth is alkaline, interestingly, because you need that for your teeth structure to be fine. This should not be acidic. You can measure that by, checking the pH level by putting your tongue on that. Before you brush your teeth, it will be acidic. You brush your teeth, you use a drop of peroxide and do that, and get that clear, and then measure it, it'll be alkaline, That's actually, that you want to keep it that way. Let's see. Healthy mind state. Ask yourself, how healthy are you? Write down the things you like, things that you have a problem with, and feel the intensity of what that is. Evaluate, find out where you are. So healthy mind first, clear mind first, before anything. Of a blurred mind or an emotional disturbance, you can't make any decisions. It's disastrous. Know that nanobacteria can influence the visual cortex. So if you see a demon, that might be an image that's triggered from your belief system by the nanobacteria operating from your central nervous system. And there's actually no demon. Understand, diamond means spirit, so that's a spirit form that needs healing. That's only an alert system telling you need healing. Once you're healed and you don't have that in your system, you won't see that. You won't see evil, or hear evil, or do evil, as in the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. That has to do with nanobacterial influence on the body, messing with your senses. Because we don't know it all. We can't think outside the box yet, and we don't know the difference between the good and the bad and how that appears. Is the inside got to be clear. When you listen to the inside, the knowledge comes from your own self. When you sometimes also shut down the internet, shut down Facebook, YouTube, anything, any information, and just sit there with yourself and clear your mind, then come back. You cannot, like some people do it 8 hours a day, Facebook or whatever they do, ongoing stress your system. You weaken your system. You need to alternate. Your body is an oscillator. You need to swing. You need to have a groove with things. Be at party with things, not extremes. Do what you can do. Like, certain workout methods for Bruce Lee work for Bruce Lee. You're not Bruce Lee. Find out what works for you. Find out what works with you, what harmonizes with you. Okay, what else? Yeah, ask yourself, are you depressed? Are you depressed? Are you upset? And how can you defeat that? And not just some stupid medication. Really find out where is that coming from. Depression can also mean that your body complains, hey, I'm infected, I need healing. You need to find out what that infect is. Okay? Healthy body, okay. Virus in the visual cortex. Also, no, nanobacteria is like a heat-seeking missile. Any negative charge you have in the body, your thoughts will attack and bring forth and amplify, because that needs healing. And the less you pay attention to something in you that has a negative charge, the more all your negative thoughts will bring that forth and attack you with it, because that's how a virus or nanobacteria or viral programming, viral thinking operates, because it needs that in order to survive. A negative thought or doubt gives it the validation that I exist. Yeah, she's doubting herself, or he's doubting himself. Yeah, so that gives me a validation to have him upset, so I'm needed. The ego, the pain body, all that is linked and wired to that. That's the shadow. Integrating the shadow, meaning finding these things within you, healing that, and taking the wire out that, so the shadow can be your strength, your vital force, your life force, your willpower. And part of ego is necessary, because I need ego to sit here to talk about it. Without ego, I have no willpower. So egoless doesn't really work. You can't have people run in your house, set shit on fire, and you can say it's in the name of God because I have no ego, take my money, take my life, do all the unjust, and I don't know, rape my family, it's all in the name of the Lord. No, it's not. You have ego in order to define yourself and set boundaries. Ego not as in edging God out, ego as in energy guided out. That's part of you. You do a painting, somebody looks at it and enjoys it. That's guided out energy for you to reflect on how people respond to what you do. There's nothing bad with with that. And if you do a lot and you have accomplished a lot, that's not being cocky or being full of ego. That is knowing who you are in respect and in a humble way. Okay. Go to the source of the problem instead of numbing the alarm system. We said that before. If you numb your alarm system, the invader or the thief is still in your house. There's no discussion, So I can have a headache and then take Advil and the headache disappears. Well, the virus finds another opportunity to come in on another way. You keep taking that, or the thief is in your house and still feeding. Okay. Alkaline and acidic balance. Check that. Check videos that say the alkaline myth. You got to get into little things here that you need to study for yourself and evaluate for yourself if that resonates. If you don't resonate with what I say, I'm not forcing you to believe anything. Do your own investigation. Parasites live on the nutrients coming from your brain and the minerals coming from your brain. So if you think a lot and you have a virus, that's double the work task for your brain. You can also get into, that's very, very, very interesting topic, RNA drops that deals with the micro sugars that you need that help the body heal and repair itself. Get into methyl groups, get into chaga mushroom, reishi mushroom, the 7 holy mushrooms. I don't know all the names, but why are they so vital for your system and why nutrients, less is more, basically. Excuse me. Having the plate full doesn't necessarily mean that you are having the full nutritious value of what you actually need. When you find that you understand you need a meal a day and your smoothies and you're actually good and you don't have to lose weight or fast or do a dry fast, all that crazy stuff that people do, I'll urge you, don't torment your body with these things. Keep putting the energy that it's designed for into your body. Sunbathe, yes, everything in moderation. Please, not extremes, because you're hurting your system. And your system is thankful when you treat it with respect and in balance. Everything, balance is the key. Balance is the key. Okay, we have explained how BE lies dormant, Epstein-Barr, until it's triggered through stress. Sinus, frontal lobe, left lobe mostly, because we're little mental beings here. We need to learn to balance with the right brain. The cross chatter has to do with viral programming of your thought patterns, also being in conjunction with central nervous system being programmed or run by nanobacteria playing that violin. What else here? I explained how a virus can map your belief system. We had the muscle test. We had the explanation of being the landlord checking your building, knowing that the virus can replicate, cloak and camouflage and strategize when you do it, so there's a way how to really definitely beat it. Get into vibropathics. Own your thoughts, be your own mental Jedi. Look into linseed oil. If you want to study Dr. Bruce Lipton, David Wolf, see what they have, see what resonates with you. Then other things that you can look into is for parasites, is for the digestive system, is wormwood, black walnut, aloe vera, chlorophyll, colonics, and RNA drops, as I mentioned. And I think that concludes what I wanted to say about viruses and parasites in humans. I hope that helped you to a certain degree, and it helped me. Don't overdo the cleansing. The body can tolerate but that much, and then it'll just cleanse itself in one day, and it can be a nightmare when that happens. Everything in moderation. Listen to the instructions. Don't dose crazy or do the crazy stuff. Everything according to how the description says it, and check testimonials and other people's and find your own evaluation system of how that works for you. Again, I'm not a doctor. If you have a serious condition, consult your physician and your doctor. This is for entertainment purposes and experimental purposes only at your own risk. All I am doing is I'm sharing information of observation that many of my friends and I have made, and they all agreed we should do a video because they couldn't even Google a video that would even talk about that topic. because nobody really investigates that. I wouldn't even know how you, like, and part of that is channeled. Like, I had dreams and visions where I could see how the nanobacteria sits in your system and reads your energy current. It reads your personality, and then it adapts to where you're not paying attention to who you are, and that's where it attacks you. And it blends with you to a point that you think that you are that, when you are not that. You're not parasitic, you're not a vampire. But when you act it out, or you play that role and you create your own fairy tale land, you're pretty much lost, because you have no idea what you're dealing with. So you're creating an elusive lifestyle that at some point, once the host is depleted, will come crashing. And we don't want to go to the crash. We don't want to go where it is too late. We are using preventive mechanisms and methods to help you to live a better and healthier life. And that is basics, going back to the body, investigating the body, really physical evidence of still in part science that we respect, that can be used to look at that. Oh my God, I didn't even know I had that in my bloodstream. That doesn't mean it's a killer. It just means it's a little bit upsetting, and it's baggage that you carry. And you can take that off, because where we're going in this ascension process, we will have more knowledge, and more will come out, more will be shared, and you'll see more. But you have to do the studies and the investigation, because a lot of people run around with the spiritual badge and they don't study, and they think, that doesn't apply to them. But you have to sit down. So do I. To study, and I realize the more you study, the more you read, the more you find stuff that interests you, the more downloads you get that confirm patterns to give you extra knowledge. It gives you actually more of an in, as in a high priest attaining a certain skill level. You will reach certain chambers of that used to be secret that will give you insights that are mind-blowing, and that's what I'm going through right now. And I have more mind-blowing, world-altering things to share with you, and I'm sharing this with you because you can change now your way you're thinking and allow yourself, okay, I didn't look at that possibility. That expands your horizon, that makes you actually better. Without doing the heavy workout and all the crazy stuff, you already have your mental workout. You can, even when you watch this at night, you will go to bed with this information, and trust me, your brain will begin to explain to you what you have just watched, because the information is like food. And I'm working towards that this is the best of my ability to give you divine and golden pieces of food, so your inner Pac-Man can glow and not run from the ghosts, which are the viral entities in your system running you, and you can shine. And then the parasites at some point have no chance of coming in when you reach a certain energy level, meaning getting you parasite free, getting you the viruses out, and you're jacking your energy up. They can't come back in. To close this chapter, there was a guy named Bovis who tested that. He took everything that is a parasite, like cockroaches, amoeba, viral stuff, rotten meat, put it all together, and rats, and put it in a basket in the center of the pyramid in the king's chamber, where the heart is, where the fire is. Guess what happened to the parasites? They all died. All of the lower energetic entities couldn't stand the energy of the life force within the pyramid. And when we reach that level, we will only have with us and in our system and in our thoughts and thought forms and energetic layers of the body what is to be essentially with us to make you an intergalactic citizen. And then you can make contact with yourself. Before anything happens, you are disclosure. And when you understand who you are, your memory comes back and more will unfold. And step by step, you have now the opportunity to go further than any species on the planet at any time. The shamans knew that. The Mayas knew that. That's why they prepared us with calendar systems and engraved stones to basically show us the oldest medium of storing memory is a rock. So we know where we're going. And on that note, namaste, as in the beautiful being that you are, that I see within you, and I see myself in you, and I love the communication, and you are the light. You are the leader. You are not the follower. You decide for yourself what direction is in your resonance according to the universe. that you came from and what you anchor here. Thank you so much.